Hi, this is Colleen with Chats with Colleen. We're so glad that you're here joining us this week for our biweekly podcast edition. This week, we have Melanie Gonzalez, who is a local interior designer from Winter Park, Florida. She was born and raised in Winter Park, which I think is unusual. And I don't know many people that were from Winter Park. So she gave us a little background about Winter Park, about the boat tour, all of those things that sound really neat, the history of Winter Park, and also how she got into being an interior designer and how she helps people and gets to create styles and flows for them in their house that will work for them and just help them. She was very informative. She's also a wife and a mother of two young children. And so how she inspires that and it integrates that into her workflows. So I really enjoyed speaking with her. She's a beautiful person inside and out, and I hope you enjoy her as well. So please like and share our podcast. It means a lot to us and the people that join us. Also, if you would like to join us and be on an episode, please reach out via DM or text or email, and we would love to have you via Zoom or in person in Lake Mary. Again, thanks for your time and enjoy the show. Hi, Melanie. Thanks for
Hi.
joining me today.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. So today we have Melanie Gonzalez, who is an interior designer, who grew up in the Winter Park area. So, what first sparked your interest in interior design?
So I grew up in Winter Park, and I currently reside in Winter Park and run my business from there. And if you've ever been, it's just so classically beautiful. It's very, you can just walk down these beautiful brick streets, and you'll go. There's tons of lakes and beautiful trees, hanging moss. So for me, growing up in Winter Park really inspired my designs. Like if you look at my designs, they are very earthy. I've got a lot of earth and a lot of texture, and a lot of the outdoors are being brought inside. So I love those kind of elements that I just grew up with, and just feeling very at peace and feeling very comfortable. And that was just growing up in Winter Park, and that is definitely shown through in my designs.
I love earthy and nature, so I know I would love your styles. So, with that being said, how did the surroundings influence your style? I guess you said like the roads and the nature with all like the big oak trees and everything.
Yes, definitely, the nature, and then also the architecture in Winter Park. Um, Definitely, if you ever have a chance, to just drive around Winter Park. I mean, seeing the homes, you'll drive around, you'll see these beautiful homes, and you'll wonder what they look like inside, because
Yeah.
they're beautiful. So the architecture, and then I grew up in Winter Park. So I grew up going into these homes, right? Friends, family, open houses. My mom and I used to always go to open houses when I was like in high school. And I would see this, the beautiful trends going on, the beautiful timelessness of, there's a lot of historical homes. Casa Feliz is one of them that you can go into, and actually is an event venue now. But if
Oh.
you see this architecture, you see, these homes, it's hard not to be inspired by it.
I don't think I've ever met anybody but you who grew up in Winter Park, who's like a native of Winter Park. I'm sure there's tons of them, but
Oh, yeah.
everybody's just like flocks there because, like you said, it's beautiful. And then I
Mhm.
always think Winter Park, I think of, Rollins College and
Yes.
how beautiful that is and that area. And
Yes.
isn't there like a Winter Park, like a boat tour? Like
Yes.
I should go on that.
Definitely go on the
It's
Winter
worth
Park.
it. And to
Yes.
drive around in the boat and they tell you all about like the history and
Oh
everything.
yeah, the history. They're pointing out these beautiful homes, and it's a wonderful time. So I definitely
Probably
think
in
you
the
should.
fall when it's not so hot like it is now.
Right,
I'll do
right.
that.
It's not covered because you go down in the canals,
Yeah.
and yeah. So yeah,
The fall
definitely.
time when it's a bit cooler would be
Yeah.
better for us.
Yes, good idea.
So you're a mom, and then
Yes.
how has being a mother of two helped you make like when you're doing a family's home? How does it give you like personal touch to help and make it, work for their families.
Yeah, I mean, so being a mother has definitely changed my style and how I design, because not only does it have to be like kid friendly, as in you don't want stains, you don't want the wear and tear, but like it has to be safe,
Hmm.
So now as a mother, there are things that I didn't know before I was a mother, like the mirrors and furniture, it all needs to be adhered to the wall. You need to have,
Oh, yeah.
and that's something that, oh my gosh, I just wouldn't have
And like the
known.
corners, I remember my son would
Yeah.
always like bang into the corners and get
Yes.
black eyes. So it's just
Right.
like making, yeah.
Right. So maybe like a big chunky stone coffee table isn't the way to go for a family. Like perhaps we do ottomans, right? And use like the wood trays that can be, removable for drinks and stuff. But
Right.
otherwise you want like that soft texture. But then also, yes, definitely even with like the paint on the walls, we're doing a sheen that isn't going to show all the fingerprints,
Stained.
and
Yes.
so there's a lot of elements that come to it, come into it when designing for a family, that now I know, how to do that, because I have a little boy, and I mean, I have a little girl as well, but man, my little boy, he loves to bring in
They get
lizards.
into
Yeah,
everything.
he brings them into the house, and it just, he's living his life, right?
That's fun.
Yeah.
I used to play with lizards when I was young until one bit me.
Oh.
Yeah, they bite. So how long have you been doing this actually?
A few years now. It was really the pandemic. I had my son in January of 2020,
Oh,
and that was when I said, it was like God spoke to me. I was like, this is the path I want to take. And so I went back and I got my certificate, and I talked to some mentors, and did my due diligence, and then opened my company. And I've just been working ever since, and I've loved every bit of it, every client I've had. It's just been really, really amazing.
that's so great. And so do you have like an intake that you take when you're meeting with the client to determine what style they want? Because I could imagine like
Mhm.
some people have this like in their head what they want, but when they go to explain it to
Yeah.
you, they can't explain it, you
Yes.
know?
I always have a conversation with people. I just want to have a conversation, especially if it's a couple,
Mhm.
because you've got, one person will have, what they want and their must-haves and how they live, and then, their spouse will have another. So I want to talk to both of them. I want to see what we can kind of come up with. And a lot of the time it is like melting it all together of what each person wants and what their needs are. And so that's actually kind of my favorite part, is getting to talk to these people and see how they live and what they're looking for, and and sometimes why they're renovating, and why this change, why now. It might be a big life change has happened, or
Mhm.
something has happened to the home, or they've moved. And so it's actually very, very interesting and fun to like sit down and kind of get to the nitty gritty of it.
I bet, because I like that in like meeting people and then if they're
Yes.
willing to talk and answer questions, and then you can just learn a little bit about them or
Yeah.
what they're going through.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've definitely left clients' homes like after, you know, putting it all together, and we're just kind of hanging out and we're just talking, and I've left, and they were like, "Oh, it was nice to have some girl time." And I was like, "Oh yeah. Yeah, that was it was like we were hanging out and having a good time."
Right. How do you balance creativity like in your and practical so it can look creative and look neat and wow, but it's still practical for like everyday use?
Yeah, so I would say the practicality is like number 1. It comes first, because you'll see a lot of things like on the internet or Instagram, on Pinterest,
Mhm.
and people will bring them to me, and I'm like, that's great. Let's talk this out. You know what I mean? Like I've had people who say, "Oh, can we just do open shelving, only open shelving in the kitchen?" And I'm like, show me what you want, what's currently in those shelves. You know what I'm saying? Like let's talk about, and then kind of just talking about the practicality of it, of like, well, do you want
Everything on display.
Everything on display, it gets dusty, we talk it through, and sometimes the answer really is like, no, I think everything that's in my upper cabinets is gorgeous, and we're like opening them up and I'm like, it is. And if you don't mind giving it a rinse before you use it every time, I mean, we could do that, you know what I'm saying? But it is just a dialogue there, but practicality for me is huge. So storage is huge, and durability is huge. That sort of thing, and we just talk it out. And how are you going to use this? What's the everyday, use of this? And so if it ends up being, oh, you know what, we're not going to do open shelving in the kitchen, but maybe we can do it, just over here in this one section and make it really beautiful and nice. And it's that sort of thing where it's just.
Those open shelves, I've seen them. They do look nice. Like when they have that, it looks great. For
Oh,
me,
yeah.
like you said, I don't have super nice like china or, plates or anything, or I don't want anybody to see it because it may be a mess.
Right.
Then it has to always be like perfectly lined up.
Right. That's
Yeah.
my thing. It's like, I like my dishes. They're all very pretty, but when I'm
In a
when I'm-
rush,
yeah,
taking them out of the dishwasher, you're putting them in there.
I'm throwing them in them. It's going up there. Yeah, I agree.
So would somebody contact you if they're building a new home, or would they contact you if they're wanting to like do something in their current house?
Yes.
Or
So
both times?
both times. Yeah. I
Okay.
always say no job is too small or too large for me. So yeah, a new build I can do, but also, sometimes you just have a room, or sometimes you have, a kitchen, or, one bathroom, or, so it's just, dependent on the client and what their needs are. And I've also had clients where it's like, we do phases, where it's, right now we need to do the kitchen, but, next year we want to do the primary bath, and I do it on your timeline, what's good for you, and what's working for you. And we can just do it that way.
So you help them pick out like the cabinet style that they're doing and all of those
Oh,
things?
absolutely. I can.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I've come in at every stage. I can bring in the contractor, or if you're already working with a contractor, I can work with them. I can do just furniture, just styling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. We do. I've done it all, and I like every aspect of it. Which is why I take all of those different jobs, is because I love every aspect of it. But I do have, I know I have mentors who are like, I will only do, certain things, which is fine
It's
too.
just being being adaptable to what somebody wants. Because I know some, like you said, just do like designing, like help them pick the colors.
Right.
But then when I'm thinking of interior designer, I'm thinking of somebody that's like decorating my house for me, like telling me what furniture to buy and
Yes.
what little knickknacks and pictures to hang up and stuff like that.
Yes.
Especially if I'm moving into a new home, it already has all that. I just don't know how to
Put it all together.
put it all together. And I
Yes.
can tell you like the colors and the stuff that I want. And then I just want somebody to do it for me. So I don't have to take that pressure off
Right.
me.
Yeah, no, I've definitely done that, and I
Nice.
love doing that. And furniture, I do have a passion for furniture, so I do love that, and space planning,
Mhm.
right? And seeing,
Oh, nice.
yeah, for your space, what size couch is best here, or you know what I mean, what size table for your dining room, that sort of thing. So yeah, definitely love that.
Nice. And then I know I hate to say this, but how is your pricing per hour, or do you have like a set job like
I
price
I
limit?
usually price it just a flat fee, and I'm very, you contact me whenever, I've always got my phone with me. Who doesn't these days? And
Mhm.
I know that I have, mentors who are like, no, you need to have set hours. I'm like, I just don't work like that. You text
It's
me, you call
difficult.
me. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm fine. You can call me and text me on the weekends. I know, it's fine. It really is. And so, to me, yeah, I do a flat fee. And there are special cases where I would do, an hourly, but I really just, I work till the job is done type of a thing.
Nice. Well, that's good to know. And then do you have a job or a project that you did that you most enjoyed, or you memory about it, good or bad?
Um, I don't know if there's just one. I mean, I've really enjoyed all of them, and I have some crazy stories, but I feel like I feel like this one family kind of comes to mind, where they're just a very, very sweet family and have this like wonderful style, and just putting it all together, and then just seeing, like, once it was all done and seeing all the kids, in the home. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like why we do this, right? Like they're going to grow up here. They're going to bring their friends here. Like this is where they're doing their like homework, and that family, like, I always just think about that, and that feeling that I had when I walked into that house and was like, oh my gosh, like, this is it. There are a lot of memories are going to be made here.
Oh, that's so nice. Has there been ever a job that you had that you'd say maybe was like a nightmare client?
I'm not allowed to say. Am I allowed to say that? Nightmare
Yeah, because we're not going to
client?
say any names or anything that was a job that was just like you maybe knew from the beginning, like this is going to be a lot. Like,
I mean, there will be times where I'm like, oh, this is a lot, and I'm like, wow, I'm definitely playing like therapist right now too. You know what I mean? But that can happen, right? If like something, like I kind of mentioned earlier, but like, I've gone into homes where it's like they had mold.
oh,
And so that's why they're renovating. And now we're ripping everything out. And this was not in the budget. This was not something that they wanted to do right now. This was not, and it was just a very like heartbreaking situation, because it wasn't, this happy, joyous, like, yes, I finally get like my dream kitchen. It was like, I can't believe we're going through this. Our house is in disarray, where it's down to the studs. And this was not part of, the plan for this year. That was hard. That was a
didn't have a
lot.
choice. Yeah, so I interviewed a woman who bought a house in North Florida, in the Panhandle, and it was her dream house, like a farmhouse on a lot of acres, and
Love that.
it ended up being full of mold.
Oh, yeah.
And they owed a lot of money, spent all their money to make this their dream house, and it was like a really nice, like old-timey house, and
Yeah.
wood floors and everything, and beautiful, and they had to tear it down.
Oh my gosh. See, I mean, it's just
It wasn't
heartbreaking.
feasible. It was just so much like patch. They couldn't gut it,
Yeah.
and it was just listening to her was just like heartbreaking how they were just trying to like make good of it, and
Yeah.
go about, but they weren't expecting that.
Right. No, that's heartbreaking, and so it's those like type of situations where it is just like heart wrenching, like human level, like, okay, this isn't about paint colors right now. This isn't
Right.
about, how much the countertops are going to cost. Like, it is like just a very, like punch in the gut situation. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's terrible. And what are some like key elements of style right now for like let's say people's bathrooms? Like what is like the top one of the top trends that people are doing?
Um, Right now, I don't pay a lot of attention to trends. I'm not against them.
Right.
I'm really not. I've had a client, clients who've come to me who are like, "Oh, I really like this accessible beige for cabinets,"
Hmm.
and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's really in right now. It's beautiful. Yeah, yeah, we can definitely, we can do that." And then they're like, "Oh no, what do you mean? Like, it's trendy. I don't want to do something that's trendy." And I'm like, "Listen, here's how I feel about trends. They're not bad. They're not good. Do what you like. If you like the color, then let's do it for your home. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? If somebody
Right.
else is doing it or too many other people are doing it, it's fine. It's what you like. So, right now what I like is large format tile. I think,
Hmm.
the fewer grout lines,
The
the
better.
better, especially like in a shower situation.
Yes.
I like textured tile a lot. Kind of going back to the like earthy, like nature.
I like that too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I like a texture. And I'm seeing, we're going away from the shaker cabinet, and we're going to like a thinner rail around, or no railing at all, and it's just the
More clean.
yes, more
No lines.
modern. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so we're seeing that a lot, which I like. I'm leaning towards that as well. So Yeah, it's been fun seeing the evolution, right, of the
I like
styles.
more earthy tones like you. I'm not so much into like the white because like it shows everything like dirt and all like the stains and like the smears from your hand, like the oils on the cabinets. I like more like darker floors and stuff like that.
So the dark wood is really coming back, like the walnut. You know, you're still seeing a lot of white oak, but you're seeing more and more like walnut, which it was really stayed away from for a number of years.
Nice. How are you inspired to keep doing this every day with being a mom and a wife? How do you keep yourself inspired to keep going?
Well, I just really like it. I just really enjoy it. And, I'll have friends who are like, hey, sorry to bother you. I don't want to text you about this, but what do you think about this wallpaper? Or what do you think about, this paint color for my bathroom or this or that? And I'm like, you're never bothering me. Like, I love this. Like, this is my thing, So even if it wasn't, my job, I would still want, to do this. And, I find myself, going through the fabric samples and, going in and out of the furniture stores. And this is what I do in my free time. You know what I mean? So I can't really picture a time when I'm like not doing this.
Wow. And then you mentioned wallpaper. Now, I love wallpaper, and I know some
Mhm.
people hate it, but wallpaper, and I know it's really expensive, but it is back. I don't want to say trend, but it's coming back into
Oh
style where
yeah.
people like it.
Oh yeah. I'm using wallpaper all the time. Here's my thing is I love wallpaper. Peel and stick, you can do that in a dorm room. You can do this in when you're renting. So it's a great way to like add personality. And then, if you're sick of it in a year or 2 years, you just take it down. It doesn't harm the wall at all. But also, even if you don't do peel and stick and you do like a traditional wallpaper, that can also be removed. So I actually just think it's a really fun way to personalize.
I've seen them doing like the accent wall, like instead of
Yes.
painting it how, people would traditionally paint it, now they put wallpaper there.
Yes, and I love it. I'm all for wallpaper. I think it is so much fun and a great way to add that, could be temporary, pizzazz, I like it.
It's just, like artwork. So I guess it's like instead of having a bunch of artwork on the wall, you would just have the wallpaper.
Yeah, exactly. And, if you switch it out if you don't like it, it's removable, It's not like tile, right? Like tile is
It's pretty much permanent. I mean,
yes,
it's a huge ordeal to remove it.
right. So it's wallpaper. Well, I love it. Do it.
Have you ever done a college dorm room? Because you mentioned that.
I haven't, and I'm itching to because yeah, I would love to do a college dorm room. I've actually just been like looking at all of them because it's not like when I went to college. Like when I went to college, it was like there were very few options, of just bedspread, and then you could put posters up.
Right.
But
Well,
now
they get apartments, so they have rooms to personalize it and do stuff like you said.
and even in those like freshman dorms, where you've got the two beds and they're lofted. And I mean, there's so much you can do now. And I'm like, oh, I'm itching to do it.
There's so much stuff.
Yeah.
It's Have you ever done a nursery for an infant?
Yes. Well,
Oh,
for
not just yours,
just
but
I've done it for a client as well, but yes, for mine as well. And that's a very sweet process because that's, bringing home baby, right? That there's nothing better. So yeah, I love doing the nursery and I love personalizing it and then, coming back and doing the toddler room and doing the room as it grows with them, right? And like adding to it. And, I've learned to not worry about doing like a convertible crib.
yeah.
Yeah, because like like my son was like a little beaver and he like chewed up on the on the side, which I didn't, expect for him to do. So I was like, oh, this convertible, crib now we can't use as a bed frame. So now I'm just like, just get a regular crib.
Yes.
They're cheaper. And then, get
Ups, do the bed. I don't,
right.
yeah, I never had a convertible one because partly because they were so expensive, but
Right.
partly I'm like, well, I don't think I want this. It may not, be big enough.
Right, you may not want it. Like, yeah, so I've, learned things like that where, it's nice that I can like tell my client, like, well, let's think about this. You know what I mean? Like, think about these things and like save money here and, I'd say put money towards a nice rocker.
Yes.
You're going to spend a lot of time in that chair,
That's what I was going to mention too. And so with your business, how do you advertise? Do you advertise on social media? Do you go to events?
So
do you do flyers?
I have my social media, Melanie Iris Interiors, and you can find me on Instagram and on socials. I've not paid for any advertising. It's all been word of mouth, which has been great because I've just been meeting like the nicest people. I feel like at some point I may, advertise, but right now just going to networking events, going to different events around town, and then the word of mouth. And so I always love that when I get a call and they're like, you did my friend's house and I loved it. So can you come do mine? I'm like, oh, that is the best feeling.
That's the best referral from a past client.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
So that's good. So it's word of mouth, social medias, and basically just meeting people that knew someone else. And do you have any like contractors you said that you use, or do any of them come to you? And
yeah, both. I have contractors that I use that have contacted me, and then we work together, and we found that we work really well together. So we continue to but like I said, I can I've jumped on jobs where they've already hired a contractor. So I work well with others, so I haven't had, really a problem there or, really a nightmare contractor situation. Thank goodness. I've always worked with really great people, and like, I'll always be able to give my clients like referrals for like painters or, cabinet makers. And sometimes people just need new countertops. Well, I've got, countertop guy, so I've got the different contacts that have been really, really wonderful to work with. So that's worked out actually really, really well. I feel very blessed that has worked out so well.
That's good. And you haven't had any problems with anybody?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I've had mentors who are like, oh my gosh, this nightmare story. And I was like, really? Like, it's so professional. Like I've had just such professional, like good people, so that makes the job a lot easier,
It does, for sure. Things go smoothly because it doesn't always work like that.
Right. Yes. We all know
these days. But I thank you so much for your time. All your information was so valuable and so informative. We're going to tag your social medias and your phone number and your email so people can reach out to you.
Great. Thank you so much.
For their design needs. Thank you.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening and joining us. If you haven't already, please share, subscribe, and like our episodes and our podcast. Also, leave a review. It will be so helpful to us, and we would so appreciate it. Also, if you want to join us at any time, we're open to any guests joining us in person and on Zoom. We post and record episodes bi-weekly, so that's twice a month. Also, they're posted on our socials, which is Facebook, Secured Insurance Group, Instagram, Colleen Insurance Lady. This podcast was hosted by myself, Miss Colleen Pacheco, and recorded and produced and edited by Sean Spazzato. Our podcast cover art was designed and created by Norma Pacheco, and our intro and outro music is created by Lounge Bar by Geronic. Goodbye.